Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday evening. I hope this video finds you all well. I'm sitting in the parking lot getting ready to go into Publix, but I just left a forum tonight from one of the candidates that's running for governor. And I asked the question tonight, which, some may not feel it's important or think that it was worth asking, but I asked the question about the fact that there's no minimum education requirements to govern a city, a budget, legislative decisions, things of that nature. That truly concerns me. I honestly, up until now, at least thought that a GED or a diploma was required. Before I could raise my hand to serve this nation, to give my life, and that's many of my peers, we needed a GED or a diploma. Now, coming from where I'm from, we got in trouble for C's, so it was not an option to not graduate from high school. But I get that everybody's experience is different, and so then there's the GED. You were able to get a GED, and that would allow you to serve. So we have to have those minimum standards to serve, to give our lives, but we don't have to have that to serve on elected positions within our state. So to me, when I think about it, it's a form of DEI. It's a form of affirmative action. That's where it was rooted historically, and why there's no requirement for education. Because it's a form of DEI. It's a form of affirmative action that was applicable to white men. But we're in 2025 today. 2025. And it's reasonable to ask and consider or think it's a concern that those are still the standards here in 2025. I think it's worth a discussion. I think it's worth revisiting. And I think that if teachers, counselors, police officers, medical professionals, military personnel, require some form of education, training, yet the people who are in charge of budgets and policy and public safety, government operations, and all of those things have no formal preparation at all, we're in a sad place. And I feel like, it's something that's under the radar. No one's really paying attention to it. And I'm glad that it was brought to my attention here recently, because at the bare minimum, I thought for sure a GED or high school diploma was required. So on top of things that are so important to our state and our city budgets and policy and public safety, leadership, things of that nature, none of it's required. And then so it falls on the taxpayer at our expense. When we elect people who are nice, who appear to have a good heart, who can do some food drives and clothing drives and all that good stuff, but they have no background whatsoever in budget, policy, public safety. And so they are equipped to be proactive in leadership. They can only be reactive because they don't know anything. They don't have a place of which to reference it from. And what's sad is that this DEI and affirmative action was put in place years and years ago for white male citizens. It's still in place in 2025. Most of us are required to have education. We're not even considered, with the education that we do have, good enough to do certain things, but we allow such low standards when it comes to serving in a public seat. Now, I can get if it was community service and they were not getting any form of payment, but they are getting payment. They are getting taxpayer dollars to serve in that seat. Whether it's enough or not, they're getting it. So I really feel like there should be some requirements. And I know that tonight what I understood is that, it's on each government to implement those things. I understand that it's constitutional amendment, all the, the rigmarole of what needs to be done in order to upgrade it and, improve it. But this is a serious discussion that I feel is needed. And like, what do you all think? Are you okay with electing people who don't even have a basic GED or high school diploma? Like, this country is big on education for most. It's any job that you get, if it's not like, serving like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or something like that, that you might need a GED or a high school diploma. You might. So why are the standards so low for such a big job and a big responsibility? I don't understand. So, I think that any other job that, deals with people and deals with, governing other people and carries responsibility requires some form of qualifications and credentials. And right now, to be an elected official here, we don't need any form of high school or education, I'm sorry. And that's pretty sad to me. That's pretty sad. And then it also, again, explains a lot. And I know that, people say we're in technology age and we're in information age and, we can look up stuff and things of that nature. And that person that said that, they're pretty young. And I trust that they would do that. They're a young person. I trust that they would do that. But the generation of folk that we have that's sitting up there now, they're not doing that. Most of them are not doing it. They're very reactive with their leadership. They're likely outdated on a lot of things. And they sit up there and they're like, and well, let's revisit this and let's revisit that, instead of coming to meetings prepared. Like, they sit up there as if it's the burden of whoever's presenting or the burden of whoever's on the presentation, what have you, to educate them, when in fact it should be an active participation and them being readily available to confirm what someone is saying to them, as opposed to learning, just sitting there learning. So interesting. And, everybody has their own things that they care about and they have a concern about. But education is a big deal for me. It's part of my background. And, it says our people perish for lack of knowledge. And here it is, a DEI and affirmative action situation that was implemented years ago to support white males, and it's still in place. It's still in place. And it is a concern for me because I do not feel like it contributes to our society in a positive way. Thank you so much for listening to me. I would love to hear your comments and what your thoughts are. Again, if you are like a millennial and you're a Gen Z and you're somebody else, like you're further on down the line with technology and all that good stuff, I get it. That you know how to find things and you know how to make yourself smart. You don't necessarily need the traditional form of education. I get that. I'm tracking with you. However, there are people on those seats right now in city council who they are not that. And they are not information savvy. They are not digital natives. They are probably researching and searching things up, but after the fact. They're not coming to the meetings prepared. They are sitting up there and saying, oh, you educated me and I'm learning something new today. So I wasn't brought up to come to a meeting unprepared. Whatever's on the topic or subject, you come prepared, you make yourself smart about it. It's not happening. But they're making themselves smart about how to retaliate against citizens and how to, speak on things that they dislike or they feel uncomfortable about, as opposed to making sure that they are smart and intelligent on the things that are important on those agendas. So I ask you all to consider those things as we move forward with this election season. It's so, so important. My background is in leadership. I know what it looks like. And I know that you should not ever show up to meetings, uninformed. You should make yourself smart about things that are on that agenda. You should be actively involved in your decision making and proactive and not reactive. And that's a lot of what we have going on right now in the city council. And a lot of apathetic and non-caring behavior. So looking at those things, paying attention to those things. And I know this is something that, again, people don't truly care about. But if we're going to, undo affirmative action, if we're going to undo DEI here in the whole United States of America, we need to do that part too, because it was DEI. It was formed as a form of DEI and affirmative action for white males. It's 2025. Some minimum qualifications, education, thing of that nature needs to be implemented for people who want to govern other people, and budgets and public safety and all of those things. You can't shoot from the hip. And when you shoot from the hip, this is what we get. This is exactly what we get, is the government that we have. You worried about people talking about you. You worried about, pointing the fingers, but you're sitting in those seats incompetent, unprepared. Oh, I learned something new today. I didn't know that. Well, guess what? If you don't know basic things, then you should not be there. We do have people on there that's making themselves smart, educating themselves, learning, but most of them are not. Some of them have been on there so long that they have experience, know-how about policy and different things, but professional development is ongoing. Lifelong learning is ongoing. It shouldn't be something that you ever become complacent and comfortable in not learning and keeping yourself up to date. So I don't know if that part is going forth, but based on how, District 7 and some of the other districts just present themselves like they're just dumbfounded about basic things, I don't believe that is going on. So being in office needs to be a priority, especially when you may not be getting all the pay that you think you should get, but you are getting some pay. It's at the taxpayer's expense. Basic standards need to be improved. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you care? This country has made such a big deal about DEI and affirmative action, giving people chances and opportunities, or what have you. This is another issue in an area where DEI and affirmative action has just kind of been overlooked because it's historically been there for so long, and it's an area that we cannot afford to allow to continue. People need some basic, demonstrated, on the record education, a GED at least. If we have to, for military, have a GED and a high school diploma to serve, why do we not need that same requirement for people who are governing budgets and different things for a city or any elected official? Okay, think about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments or whatnot. And again, if you're a millennial and you're Gen Z and you're what have you, I get it. I know that you are digital natives and that you are fully aware of how to get the education and all that good stuff and information that you need. However, there still needs to be some qualifications implemented, bare minimum, so that we do not get people in those seats who are not qualified. And we're not getting people because they are, you know, popular or people like them or they're friendly. That does not run a city well at all. And I hope we've had enough of that. All right, y'all. Have a good night.